Hey, Branson, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. How about yourself?
Good. I found out that Twitter is allowing CPD ads.
Okay.
I posted it in the Facebook group so you can. I didn't read all the details, but um, at least it's something.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Is Delta 9 a popular product?
Yes,
How about Delta 8? Also popular?
it is, but it's kind of pushed to the back burner because it's kind of like Delta 9 is more improved. Now they have HHC, H THCA, which is a Delta 9 derivative, and they have different kinds, so it gives you different feels.
What's the strongest of all those?
I'm gonna say the HHC.
Hmm, interesting. So you can basically get stoned as you want nowadays.
Oh yeah, the gummies I have, I literally had a friend whose wife told me don't ever sell him any more of them because he got so high he thought he was dead. And he put on his good shoes and got on the couch naked. And she didn't know what was wrong with him. And he had his arms folded. And she said, he looked at me with a straight face and said, "Don't worry, baby, I'm dead. It's okay." And
Oh God.
I
What was
asked
he?
him,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
how many did he eat because they taste just like candy. And he said
Okay.
I can only eat a half of one. He ate three of them back to
Oh
back
my.
to back, and
How,
it
how
kicked
many
in.
how many milligrams are there per gummy
Um, it's 50 milligrams per gummy.
of THC 9 or whatever?
Yes.
Oh my God! So he had 45 grams.
Yeah.
Oh my God! That's like smoking a bag of pot.
Yeah. And it all kicked in at the same time, sir. And he, like, I talked to him later. It was so funny because he said, I knew I was dead, but I didn't want to call the police because if I was already dead, I didn't want to bother him. I said, that's the most highest thing I've ever heard someone say. Like, you don't want to bother them, but you're dead, but you want to call them.
Oh,
So you
what
took
about?
all your clothes off and laid on the couch and waited for your
Well,
wife to get home.
the question I want to ask is how much food did he eat?
He probably tore up everything afterwards.
That's a case of the munchies, man. Jeez.
But
Wow.
I have another formula that a lot of older people buy, and it's like I haven't had COVID since it first came out, and I eat one of these every day, and it
Yeah.
kind of boosts your immune system. It doesn't have any, it's full spectrum, so it doesn't have the Delta 9 or Delta 10, so you don't
Okay.
get a buzz. It just helps the system, helps
Yeah.
with joint problems, back problems, headaches, migraines.
Okay.
So
Interesting. What the 15 milligrams, what do you sell them in 20 per package? 40?
we sell them in, ironically, just hold on a second. I just had a thing I just called. You get 10 in a jar.
How much does a jar cost?
We've been selling the jars for 35.
That seems cheap.
Yeah. Um, well, literally, I I'm in with the people who growing it, and they are building making everything themselves. So get a pretty good price, and then with me being able to do graphic design, cause see,
Oh yeah. Yep.
I did designed all that. Oh well, yes, I need to
Cool.
bring it,
Yeah,
but
there you go.
well, still, it's not. Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
see it. It's coming out.
yeah. So then we have the small packs, and that's what we promoted for Valentine's Day, which is the male and female enhancement.
I gotcha.
So
Are you Are you selling it online?
Yes.
Okay.
Those
Cool.
are for the flyers. We have an app that we built. And that's what that flyer was that I put in the group. If you scan it, it's a QR code and you scan it and it takes you to an app where you can buy
Oh,
the
okay. I'll take a look at it. I just kind of quickly looked at it. I didn't delve in too much. All right. Well, thanks for that. Hey, Kyle. Who's that?
Good morning,
Tia there?
everybody.
I can't, hey, man, I can't tell who iPhone 3 is.
How you doing? It's me, Jessica. I'm
I couldn't
working
see.
doing a client. I'm sorry. I'm over here doing a client. Sorry, but I'm here.
All right, good. All right, so welcome everybody. Wasn't that guy great yesterday? I mean, so much of that's a mystery
Yes,
to
it
me.
was.
It was really good to learn kind of the practical application, particularly a lot of those acronyms and initials and stuff, which, you know, I kind of vaguely got, but I didn't really understand it in context. So I thought he was fantastic. He hasn't sent me his pricing yet, so hopefully he will, and I'll share that with everybody. But I think it's a la carte. I think you pick and choose what services you want, so you don't have to necessarily, go the whole 9 yards. But it's amazing to me that he is specifically in the space of specialty food. You know, how rare is that? I mean, it's just amazing that he's not, that he's focused on that. So I think that's pretty cool. All right. I want to take just a second before we get started on the second half of the mental health. You know, we talked the other day about newsjacking and what that is. So I wanted to just real quick, I want to just point something out here. Let's see here. And, you know, I absolutely do not want to get political. That's not my point. But one of the things here is that the North Carolina House gave bipartisan approval to Medicaid expansion. And I'm just really using this as an example. For a lot of people in North Carolina, this is a really big deal. I know in my involvement with the North Carolina Rural Center, this is something they've been working on for 10 years to try to get, because in their case, they're also non-political, but they represent rural areas, and rural areas have far less health insurance than urban areas. It's just the way it is. And in many cases, I know in the case of ECU Health, which used to be called Vidant Hospital, now it's called ECU Health. It includes other things besides just the hospital. It includes the medical school, et cetera. But 30% of their patients do not have insurance. And they lost $46 million last year, and they had to close 5 medical facilities in small towns in Eastern North Carolina, like Snow Hill and I think Williamston. I'm not 100% sure. But my point is, and maybe this is not a good example, but anything you could do with your marketing that would somehow tie into this, is something that might get picked up beyond, the norm because of the strong interest in this. And I don't know exactly how to do it, how to take, pecans and turn it into something relevant to this point. But I'm just trying to make the point that there are opportunities out there to do this kind of thing. And this is just one that caught my eye because I know it's a little more local or regional in focus, and it's a really big deal to a lot of people. So that's what I had to say about that. So let's see now. What do I want to do? I want to get into the second half of the mental health. So buckle up. Here we go.
Here goes Maddie. Hi, Matt.
on March 2nd, 1975 in Sioux City, Iowa. I was kind of a happy-go-lucky kid. And then my dad left. And after that, I started to get more quiet, more shy, and that kind of followed me throughout my childhood. So middle school, the anxiety really ratcheted up. There were fights daily, and I had kind of this disposition of when I saw violence, it would make me sick to my stomach. I survived middle school and made it to high school and started to come a little bit more out of my shell and break out of the anxiety a little bit. I was heavily involved in things like band. I did start to play soccer, so I played on the high school soccer team. Yeah, music was kind of my thing. So we had different garage bands. I played bass because nobody else played bass. Everyone wanted to be a drummer or a guitar player, and I was like, oh, I can get a lot of playing time if I'm a bass player. Things really started to change for me, though, when I got to college.
And that's where I met Matt, was on the first day of college. We were in a small orientation group.
We were supposed to go around, use an alliterative term to introduce ourselves.
So I said, I don't know, I'm Jumpin' Janie, I guess. Even though I'm like super shy.
I couldn't quite see her. She was kind of hidden behind some other people. It got to me and I couldn't come up with anything, so I said, I'm Measly Matt.
And I'm like, who's that?
You know, we're supposed to say something that we're into, and so I said, I'd like to do art. And so I see this head poke around another person and say, what kind of art do you do?
And he said, oh, you wouldn't understand. I thought, like, this is so on, buddy.
Like my 18-year-old self, I just want to go back and smack him. Luckily, I didn't ruin it.
It was really like I met my best friend, and we both felt like we had been searching for this person the last 18 years of our life. And about a year and a half later is when we got married.
She is strong beyond belief. She is so incredibly compassionate. You know, if love was a currency, she'd be one of the richest people on the planet.
4 years into our marriage, I think it was, he started to withdraw. He no longer wanted to do anything, wanted to sleep. He started to self-medicate with alcohol.
So the anxiety got to the point where, you know, I was afraid to go places. You know, I'd say to Janie, oh, let's just stay in.
He started doing kind of like ritualistic things, locking the door differently, turning the water on and off.
The anxiety would kind of kick in, and then I would do a ritual to try to combat the anxiety. And it would work, but it was a temporary fix. Then when I was 25, I decided I wanted to get over my fear of heights, so I was going to go skydiving. The day of our jump, I'm super excited. I was playing music on my headphones, and I couldn't wait to jump. And we get to about 3,300 feet, and the instructor opens the door, and I'm the first one to jump. So I look out, and I look down at the ground, and think, there is no way I can do this. This terror came over me. As soon as I let go, my heart felt like it was going to explode, and I couldn't breathe. What I didn't know was I was having a panic attack while skydiving. Then about a week later, I'm at work, and I'm talking to one of my coworkers, and out of the blue, I have a panic attack. It feels exactly how I felt jumping out of the plane. I'm starting to notice I'm having at least one panic attack a week. And it gets to the point where I'm starting to have a panic attack a day. Then I'm having multiple panic attacks every day. My obsessive compulsive disorder gets really out of control because one is kind of feeding the other. So I'm developing more rituals. I notice, you know, like I can't get out of the shower unless I turn the knob off a certain way.
He didn't share a lot with me. He was very withdrawn, but he did share that he was like having some thoughts that were very concerning to him.
So what my brain would tell me to do is very violent things. And me being just who I am, someone who hates violence, it was probably the most disturbing thing for me. So 2 weeks before my 27th birthday, Janie comes to me and says, I'm pregnant. And then I really start to spiral out of control.
The day I told Matt, he I guess I just imagined he would scoop me up and spin me around, and it would be this super amazing time, like super special moment for us, and it wasn't. And I think that's the first time I realized there's something really wrong.
I wake up the next day. I shouldn't have gone to work, but I did. I drove myself there. I sat down at my desk, and it was a Friday, and a lot of people were coming with, where are my projects? How, is this going to be done next week? I was a graphic designer at the time. And I just stood up, turned around, and looked at my boss and said, I need to leave right now or I'm going to hurt someone. And she just gave me this blank stare. And she said, okay. So I walk out of the building and I call Janie and I said, I need you to meet me at the hospital.
He seemed really kind of numb and like a shell of himself. I really thought that they would take him away and he would never come back the same guy. But it was also like the best day of our lives because he was given a new chance.
The doctor who was there at the time said, we're going to put you on the right medication and we're going to monitor you the next few days. You're not going to spend the rest of your life here. You're going to get better. And that's the first time I had hope in a very long time. That alone was a huge weight that was lifted off of my shoulders. And 3 days later, I walked out of the hospital.
He was completely different the next day. He woke up with hope. There was like sparkle in his eyes that he hadn't had in years. He looked alive again.
So after the hospitalization, they set you up with a therapist and a psychiatrist. So mindfulness became a big part of how I got healthy because through the act of meditation, sitting on a cushion, I could actually watch my thoughts. And through that process, I understood that my thoughts are not who I am. But if you just watch them passively and become an observer, they don't take control over you.
I got to witness firsthand all those layers he had been putting on himself to protect himself were starting to come off. He was cracking open and the light was shining out. And it was just really amazing.
It fundamentally changed who I am for the better. There is a stigma around mental illness, and we need to break that stigma. We need to understand, all of us together, that it's no different than having any other medical condition. It'll still bubble up. There's moments, 17 years later, that I still have anxiety, especially before I'm, to go on stage and give a speech. But I've learned that I can channel that energy. I can change it from one of fear to one of excitement, because they're kind of the same. One of the most powerful gifts you can give to yourself is to get healthy, and it's okay to ask for help.
I'm Dr. George Iliopoulos. I'm a psychiatrist.
Hi, my name's Jean Ross Marin. I'm a licensed psychologist.
My name is Janine Dianabal. I'm a psychologist. Entrepreneurs obviously are in a very kind of high-achieving, pressure-filled world.
And they do a fair amount of self-neglect sometimes when they're in the middle of all of that. And they keep plowing forward. They don't want to admit that there's something wrong going on.
Sometimes that's great because it inspires creativity and innovation, but sometimes it can lead to a tremendous amount of psychological stress that can accumulate and also lead to burnout. Burnout is related to anxiety and depression, but different. I think burnout is usually related to the workplace specifically, where there is this demand for work to produce, and resources kind of don't always meet the demand to be able to execute the product. So one can constantly feel behind, right? That's the essence of burnout. Now, a side effect of that burnout then, that's feeling like I can't keep up, can then be anxiety and depression. So it can kind of stem from the burnout.
There's a list of the top 5 reasons for disability. Depression is in the top 5. And, so that's right along with heart disease and diabetes. So this is a major cause of disability. 1 in 10 people will have depression in the past year, and the lifetime prevalence might be more like 20%. So 20% of people, 1 in 5, might have a major depression at some point in their life. So it's fairly common.
18.1% of adults have an anxiety disorder, and actually 33% of youth, so from ages 12 to 18, also have an anxiety disorder.
Stress and burnout can impact all areas of life. Some of the earliest signs are very kind of subtle, innocuous things like difficulty sleeping. And that could get normalized because many of us have difficulty sleeping at different times. But when it is chronic, pervasive, that is certainly a sign. Distracted or unable to really focus and concentrate to drive tasks to execution. Difficulty in interpersonal relationships. A lack of ease or even joy in relationships that maybe was present before.
In a depressive episode, you have, for a significant period of time, a depressed mood. You're sad, you're down in the dumps, you're irritable, you're anxious. And a big feature in depression is a word called anhedonia. Anhedonia is an inability to experience pleasure. And that's, hedonism is pleasure, anhedonia is without pleasure. And that's an important thing that humans need. It's what drives us forward, helps us to make decisions, go towards goals. And if nothing feels good, it can be really hard to push yourself forward. Depression can also be associated with difficulty with proper nutrition and eating. And some people just stop eating and lose a significant amount of weight. They'll complain about things like, I can't concentrate. I don't have the energy level that I used to have. Definitely a tendency to be really self-deprecating. I'm no good. I'm worthless. I can't do this. I might as well give up. Things like that can come up.
The difference between normal stress and anxiety is really about the level of impact. If it's interfering with your ability to live, love, laugh, and learn. There's all sorts of very, very physical symptoms. You feel like you need to run away or maybe fight, or you actually freeze. It's your body getting you ready for fight or flight. They have a lot of stomach aches or headaches. Or somebody might feel like they can't focus, they feel kind of jittery, they feel overwhelmed. Some people might have full-on panic attacks that literally feel like you're having a heart attack.
There really is stigma associated with mental health issues. We don't talk about things like this. You have to be tough and on top of things, and you can't show weakness or admit weakness at work.
There is no shame in being burnt out. I think there's such a cultural norm, particularly in the entrepreneurial community, of keep going. There's work to do. This isn't that big of a deal. I've got this, I can keep going. So I think it really is the minimization or denial. I think friends, family, partners are hesitant to intervene with someone with burnout for fear of coming across as judgmental. And so the partner or friend doesn't want to contribute to the stress by calling out the stress. So often it's a cycle that feeds upon itself, where if nobody's kind of talking about it, the person isn't also getting any help. All we want to do is invite balance. So rather than talk about how hard they're working, how they're never there, maybe we invite, I'd love to have lunch with you today. Is there any way you could meet me for an hour?
I think if you're genuine in your care and concern, I think that's, that comes across, and that's what's honest. You're being honest. You're not being too intrusive. Trust your judgment. Trust yourself. If you're really worried about this person, especially if you're worried about safety, then You know, it's important to share that responsibility, talk to people around you, and sometimes you might even need to call the authorities if you're truly worried that you're not going to see that person the next day.
Because it is really helpful to people to feel like somebody cares about them. They're not alone, that you're normalizing it. Like you're approaching this like you would approach other things. Because this is not our standard practice, it kind of goes against social norms, and it feels like we're being intrusive or nosy, to remind yourself that it's actually helpful.
I think often the key is to admit that we're not perfect, that we might be struggling, and show vulnerability in that way, so that we can then actually replenish ourselves by admitting that. Then if we do that and we start rebalancing things, chances are we're gonna come back to our work life in even more of a powerful way. But oftentimes we have to first admit that what we might be doing isn't working.
Good things can come out of situations where people have been in really dark places. And, you know, human history is just full of stories just like that. And you can be the next story like that. And if you find that you're really struggling, go get help and work on it, and you'll get better.
Okay. I hope that if anybody here is relating to any of this or feels, you know, some of these things might apply to them, please don't hesitate to reach out and seek help. You know, one of the ironies of this is that this sort of problem can impact anybody, regardless of your background, your education, your physical appearance, how much money you have. Any of that stuff is really irrelevant, which seems kind of strange. But you know, I think that one of the things I think with entrepreneurs in particular is that it can be so hard to do what you're doing that it takes a lot of your resources, emotional, physical, mental, just to do what you do. You know, and if it's a long period of time, and that period of time can vary for everybody, but let's say you consider it a long period of time, and it just wears on you subconsciously, I think, and internally, and in many cases, you're not aware of it until it's probably pretty acute or pretty intense. So that one lady was saying, that one professional was saying that it often starts with real subtle things that nobody notices, including the person that it's happening to. You know, from what I have seen in the entrepreneurship space, I don't have any statistics. I don't know this, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if the incidence of various mental problems or emotional problems, I don't even know if they're the same thing or not, seem to be pretty high in the entrepreneurial community. You know, especially the more money you make or the more money you've created, however you want to look at it, there's even more pressure, especially not only the money side, but also if a lot of people are depending on you for their livelihood, for their job, for their future. That's not a trivial thing to deal with. So I welcome anybody wants to comment, have anything to add to the discussion, let me know.
Yes, I am currently going through that right now. So it was that definitely hit home, because a lot of people don't recognize, and as me being in the beauty industry took a very, very hard hit with COVID. A lot of people got exposed to how they do their own hair. They had to learn, you know what I mean? So me scaling my business and switching it around now to make it to where it's still profitable, it's still a business, and I can still be in my industry doing things is very tough, because, you know, mentally you got one thing and then physically it's your reality. So it's a very up and down, and I'm getting emotional as I speak about it, because every day it's a struggle, and sometimes you just want to say F it all, let me just get a job, be normal. But anybody who has a dream or a goal, you know that you just can't. You eat, sleep, and you breathe it. So it's just very tough trying to stay positive. And like he said, you know, you got your employees on your back, you got your people, your clients you serve, or your clientele, or whatever it may be in the industry. You know, everybody depends on you. You're still trying to be sane, still trying to live a normal life, and still trying to keep your business structured as a business and a professional life. It gets very hard. And it's like she said, the financial backing. Me, when I started to go legitimate and try to make it upscale, I didn't realize how much it costs money. You know, it really costs money to make money. So if you're not, you know, educated on that, when you dive right in, it's just a lot. So this definitely helped. It's definitely a real thing. And for me, I just pray every day and I just keep going. And like for now, I'm doing a client now. What keeps me going is the transition to how she going, oh my God, I love my hair. Just making people feel good, happy. That's what keeps me going, because even today, I want to just throw the towel in, like, just, you know, being transparent. Like, I woke up today and they repoed my car, you know, and it's because I've invested in my film crew for my tour. I'm trying to shoot the documentary. I'm trying to open my resource center. So there's so many good things that goes on through the storm. It's just a struggle to stay positive and to keep going, because you get blinded. Like, good things happen, but reality happens. So it's like, what do? You know what I mean? It's a constant struggle.
Well, I appreciate you, you know, speaking frankly. Do you have access to any kind of help at all that can assist you?
Yeah, I've been working with Mac Linden, and that's another good one for any entrepreneurs that's on here that's in the Mecklenburg County. Mac Linden, they do funding and small term loans to help you, and they base it just off your business income. They don't really do it off your credit, so it kind of is a good thing. So I've been working with them for a few months, so I finally got approved with that. So I'm just waiting on that to come, and then, you know, my income taxes and stuff like that. But again, and not to get spiritual, like, I asked God for a newer car. I asked him to open up my resource center. So sometimes he'll pull you from certain things that you ask for to get better. And so many good things been happening. It's just a car, you know, I can get another one. But
Yeah.
it is definitely a hurtful reality check, because, you know, you try so hard and you put everything into your baby. Your business is your baby. You know what I mean? You just, you don't want it to be right. But when you're working off, for me, I don't really have a job. I did work part-time, but I just do hair. So I'm trying to fund my business with my business income. So
Yeah.
it's just, you know what I mean? But so yeah, I do have Mac Linden, and then my income taxes should be coming any day now. So, you know, it's all good. I'm just rolling with it. I'm just rolling with it.
Well, this may not relate to you, or it may, but I think I've told the story before of a man I met out in California, Silicon Valley, who was an alumni of the same university, and I was there. I actually was working with the university, and I was there to talk to him about donating to the university. And I didn't know him. He's a few years behind me at school. But first thing he said to me was that where he was sitting was his 15th startup. He'd gone bankrupt 4 times. He'd lost his house, his car, everything 4 different times. As it turned out, he ended up selling this particular company for $2 billion. So he made it at the end. But he also said that the mentality out there in Silicon Valley is, he said, for example, if you start a company, first time you start a company and it ends up being very successful, he said, you won't even get an invitation to lunch, or you won't be asked to talk about it, because everyone figures you were just lucky. So do it again And then you start to see some invitations that start to be included in some of the discussion. It's just a whole different mindset. So I try to think like that and realize that the only absolute way to fail is to quit. Once you quit, you definitely have failed. That's an absolute. So of all the things that need to be done, whether it's mental, emotional, financial, all of the things that have to be done, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. It will make sense at some point. You just have to keep going. And everybody says that, but until you meet someone like I met, it doesn't really hit you that hard. You know, four bankruptcies and losing his house and car, 4 times. That's pretty insane. So anyway, that's about, I don't have much else to add, I guess, but just, trying to be encouraging, I guess.
Yes, I mean, look, I'm over here about a car. I mean, I still have my house, my stuff, and so many blessings. Like I got invited to do. Remember, I was telling you what I got invited to speak about, and yesterday 2 more people signed up for my international tour. So it's good. It just be the weird in between,
Yeah, I hear you. Well, anyone else want to chime in or have anything to add to the conversation? All right. Well, thanks everybody for this moment of clarity and both pain and pleasure, I guess. You kind of get both out of the deal. So we're gonna call it off for today. There's no class on Monday. It's some kind of holiday, and supposedly I'm not allowed to do this on a holiday. Don't ask me why. It seems pretty ridiculous, but that's the way it is. So Tuesday we're gonna hear from the guy who was the first CEO of Etsy, Chad Dickerson. So that'll be interesting. I think you'll find he's from Greenville, North Carolina, as it turned out. And he's got a pretty interesting story. I think everyone will enjoy that. And in the meantime, even though there's no Super Bowl this weekend, I hope everyone does have a enjoyable weekend. And I'll catch you all on Tuesday. All right. Take care.